What's up, guys? It's your favorite Kiwicoach, and welcome to Brooks Koepka's Swing Analysis. Let's go do this thing. So welcome back to the channel, guys. Hope you guys all been having a good week so far. I know I've not been posting lately. A lot of great stuff going on in terms of the online academy and the physical academy, so I'll keep you guys posted here in a bit. But anyways, if you guys are new to Mike's OG Academy, expect a lot of golf instructional type of videos. We talk about everything in the golf swing in terms of setup, backswing. We talk about shallowing the club, parametric acceleration, all the way from beginner to advanced. We have all the information. On top of that, we also do a lot of course vlogs where we play with local influencers as well as just all categories of golfers, so you guys can kind of get the best understanding of what level of golfer plays on the golf course, right? What do they look like when they're playing out there on the course? Now, the last thing that we do is interviews, okay? So we like to interview all the way from golf course superintendents to GMs possibly, to local golf pros, to beginners, to intermediates, to club repair guys, club fitting. We want to basically get you guys educated on everything there is to know about golf, so stay tuned for all of that stuff. So again, guys, if you guys have not liked yet, go ahead and smash that like button, leave me a comment, let me know of some future videos you guys would like to see, as well as subscribe. So let's get into this analysis. Alright, guys, so as you can see, we got Brooks Koepka hitting driver down the line, and then I believe we probably have one of his utility irons, like a 2-iron, on this face-on view, okay? So first things, forewarning, on the down the line view, the angle is a little bit off from what I like to see. It's a little bit more so on the ball target line. Now, when you guys film your videos out there, it's totally fine to film on the ball target line. My first mentor filmed predominantly off the ball target line. I used to do that for the longest time, but now I've been switching more so to where it's right in between the toe line and the club head. I prefer that just because I've grown accustomed to kind of seeing the angles from there. And I do think you can see different angles that you can't see really from the ball target line, more so in terms of like pressure points and all that good stuff. Now, face-on view is pretty much right where I'd like to see it. You can pretty much see the whole golf swing. Unfortunately, you really can't see the club head actually hitting the golf ball because it is a little bit cut off there. So if you guys are filming in the future, make sure to definitely be able to see all that. Forewarning as well, both videos do move ever so slightly, so we're not going to be able to get super specific with the lines and really kind of see what everything's going on. We're just going to look at this swing kind of more so in a macro idea. So anyways, let's kind of get into it. So first off, let's take a look at the down the line view and let's kind of just address the whole, is he stalled out at impact, okay? And then we're going to kind of go over what is really stalled out. So as we get Brooks into the impact zone, so pretty much right around here we can start classifying the impact zone. Watch his hips and watch his shoulders and see how there's little to no movement. Little to no movement, not really moving, not really rotating, not really rotating. And then right about here we start seeing him moving again, okay? So for me, that is the definition of stalled out, okay? So stalled out doesn't necessarily mean the body completely stops, albeit there are some players out there where that is the case and that does happen. But with Brooks, that's not really the case. He's never completely stalled out, but I would say his body, compared to maybe other golf professionals, isn't rotating very fast through the impact zone. Now, we've heard a lot of instruction out there recently saying if you are stalled out, you most likely are going to be inconsistent. Now, I'm a big believer in that. I would say for the average player and for most players out there, when the body stops around impact, the hands will take over and you're really going to see a lot of supination or a lot of forearm roll, whatever you want to call it, the toes turning over very fast, you got a high rate of closure, which then leads to inconsistency, right? Because 85% of the initial direction of where an iron is going to go is where that club face is pointing at impact, okay? And if you're closing over rapidly, who's to say that you're closing over rapidly consistently, right? Maybe your speed changes one swing because you're a little bit nervous, closes over a little bit faster. Next thing you know, your face is more closed than you're used to being. Maybe you hit a couple of those early in the round, then you start getting a little bit slower with your rate of closure, and then you start hitting big blocks out to the right. So our goal is we don't want the toe of the club turning over very rapidly, and we don't want it turning over a large amount, right? And this is why I think Brooks Koepka is so consistent. So we're going to take a look at his club face real quick and watch as he comes in. So notice how the club face is pointing slightly right at the golf ball here. Then right around here it's getting fairly square, and then let's watch the toe of the club as he hits the golf ball. Notice how it's not churning over very rapidly. So we would call that a very stable ROC, or it's at an almost an optimal rate, I would say, of closure. So anyways, this would be the reason why he can be stalled out and still hit the ball fairly consistent, okay? So now, let's address the main, kind of the cat in the bag right now. So most golf instructors say you're not gonna have a stable face if your body's stalled out. Well, if you can do a little bit of what Brooks Koepka is doing, you're gonna be able to get away with it, okay? So let's see kind of what he's doing, and it has to go to the top of the swing. So already we can see that Koepka has, I would say, maybe a neutral to almost a weak left hand at setup. So let's take a view, let's take a look at this face on view. So let's take a look at his lead hand. That would be a neutral to almost even weak lead hand grip. Now his trail side hand is more so in a almost even strong position, right? So already those hands are kind of fighting each other, but let's see what he does on this down the line view as he gets up to the top, right? So once we get to his P2 position, we can see that the lead wrist has almost gone into supination, right? It's almost rolling under, which keeps this club face pointing down towards the ground, right? We don't have the toe all the way up pointing to the sky like your typical golf channel instruction would like you to do, right? So he's already got a what we would call shut face to where normal is at this point in the golf swing, right? Now from here, we're gonna see that he's eventually gonna start getting a little bit into this pronation with the lead wrist, a little bit of this right wrist extension, and a little bit of radial, which is normal. And then as he gets up to the top of the swing, or let's stop before the top of the swing, let's take a note of where his club face is pointing. Notice how it's pointing up to the sky. That's kind of like a DJ look, not as much flexion as DJ, but definitely kind of a DJ look. The club face is very shut to where most traditionalists would like to see it at this point. And then as we get up to the top of the swing, the club kind of disappears from view, but I can guarantee you it's still pointing up towards that sky, right? So as we come down, we can see that this lead wrist is starting to go a little bit into flexion, and we can see it kind of in this little view right here, which is probably closing down the face even more as we can see it coming in. And then right around here, we're gonna stop him, and we can see that that club face is pretty much in a pretty square to almost closed position. So once he gets into this position, even though his body is stalling out, all he has to do from here is maintain wrist angles, maybe add a little bit of supination, not a whole lot, and just hold off. We call that the drive and hold. I think Kelvin Mee here coined that and made it kind of popular, even though it's been around for a little while. But I do like that phrase. It's the drive and hold release pattern. So even though his body's stopping, he has a nice little drive and hold, and he makes sure that his ROC, or that toe, is not turning over very rapidly, and that's how he comes consistent, okay? So just because you're stalled out does not mean that you have to have a high ROC. You can actually have a very functional ROC being stalled out. As long as you get a little bit more Brooks look, I would say you probably would want to have maybe a little bit more of a stronger grip in the lead hand than Brooks. That way you don't have to get as much flexion on the way down, or if you have that neutral weak grip like Brooks, then maybe possibly you're going to have to add on that flexion to kind of quote-unquote square it up earlier, even though the club face is never technically square. There's a lot of good gears videos on that, but I think it's a good basic general idea to think about, even though it's not true. It's one of those, like, it makes it a whole lot easier for the student to visualize, even though it's not technically true type of ideas, right? So I'm not a disbeliever in calling it squaring it up early. I think that's easier for you guys to understand. So anyways, that is why Brooks Koepka is stalled out but so consistent. So now let's kind of get into the topic of why he hits a cut. So we're going to stay with the driver view. We're not going to go really onto the face-on view, but it gets into a little bit of this D-plane application in terms of attack angle, how it shifts path, okay? So here's kind of the ratio, or here's kind of the numbers you guys got to think about. So let's draw an angle on his, basically the lie angle of his club. So we're going to draw it through the hosel of the club, and then draw another one kind of just parallel to the ground. So notice how he's over at a 45-degree angle, okay? So we're assuming these next numbers are assuming that when he gets to impact, this angle is relatively the same, okay? So that means his VSP, or basically the amount that the handle is raised, has not raised a lot, maybe a degree, maybe 2 degrees. But if you're right around 45 degrees at impact, these numbers are going to apply. So let's kind of get into those numbers. So if you're coming into the golf ball, and let's say he's hitting up on this ball right around 4 degrees. Well, if his vertical swing plane is at 45, basically what he can think about is it's going to be a 1-to-1 ratio, right? So when I say 1-to-1, that means if he's swinging 4 degrees up on the ball, he needs to be swinging 4 degrees to the right to have a zero or neutral path at the moment of impact. Now this is kind of like a groundbreaking idea, because once you guys start understanding this concept, you're really going to start being able to optimize your driver, and it's going to make a whole lot more sense why the driver swing is pretty far different from the iron swing, okay? So anyways, let's kind of go back and kind of talk about that, right? So what Brooks Koepka is doing here is, I would say he has right around possibly about he's swinging about 2 degrees to the right swing direction, and he's hitting up on it around 4 degrees. I would guarantee that's probably close to what his numbers are, and he's probably having more so of about a -2 path at impact. And then let's say his face is right around -1. So that's what pretty much gets him that pretty neutral cut. Maybe about a 5-yard cut to about a 10-yard cut, depending on how much the ratio between the face and the path is. So that's how he hits a cut. So if you want to hit a cut with driver and you want to hit up on the ball to optimize, you're going to still have to swing a little bit to the right, just because the tack angle shifts where that path is going to be. The more up you hit on it, the more likely the path will be shifted to the left than it typically would be. Doesn't mean the path is going to be left, it just means it'll shift it more to the left than it typically would be. And if whenever you hit more down on it, that's typically going to shift the path more to the right than it typically would be. That's a really powerful concept that if you guys can understand, you guys are going to be just so far ahead of the curve and being able to optimize your guys' golf swings. So anyways, in a nutshell, that's pretty much how Koepka hits a cut with his driver. Irons is slightly different because he's hitting down on it. We're not going to get too much into that in this analysis. Leave a comment below, let me know if you guys want to hear more about deep plane applications, and I can make a video and kind of explain a little bit more in depth. There is a lot of great video content out there currently right now in the golfing world. TrackMan Maestro, just all you gotta go is type in deep plane applications or deep plane golf, and you're gonna find a bunch of great content and it really easy to understand content as well. So go check those out. Also leave a comment if you guys want me to personally do it. I can also make a video as well. So the last thing is take home. What do we want to take home from Koepka's swing? And I think you guys already probably know this. It's going to be that low ROC, the low rate of closure that he's got going on. I think that's such a crucial skill set that you guys have to learn to be able to control where your golf ball is going to go. So take home, what I like to see is, let's get at this position pretty much when the hands are level, the hips on the downswing. Let's try to copy where his club face position is pointing. Notice how the toe is not like 90 degrees to the ground. It's not perpendicular to the ground, but it's at a certain angle. Let's get this matching up a little bit more to Koepka for a lot of you guys out there, and then practice squaring the face quote unquote early, even though we know that's not true, but the feeling of it squaring early and then holding off through the impact zone. If you guys can do a lot of slow motion swings, a lot of stop and goes where you guys stop at the hands level, the hips, and do slow swings and really work on stabilizing out that club face and slowly ramping up your speed and slowly getting it back to a full dynamic speed, even if your body's not working correctly, even if everything else is a little bit off, I think you guys are going to completely change the way that you guys can control your golf game or your golf ball, and I think you guys are going to have to start having a lot more fun because of that. Cool. So anyways guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this analysis of Brooks Koepka. Leave a comment below, let me know if you guys want to see more videos like this. As I said earlier, smash that like button, subscribe if you guys like these type of videos. And yeah, this is pretty much it guys. It's pretty simple stuff. I think this is the rate of closure is such an applicable skill, and I think it's such an important skill set that you guys gotta learn, so definitely get to it. Alright guys, hope you guys have a good one and play some good golf out there.